challenge your ideas and could be considered off-limits.
Welcome, everybody. This is Marie Dangard. Now, that's her real name. Her stage name is Alana Evans, but she's been retired from the pornographic movie industry since 2016. But, you know, you've been a legit friend of mine. Like, people, I'm friends with porn stars. No, you're not. You and I are friends. I've known you for, I feel like it's 20 years. I don't know how long I've known you, but you know, we were talking yesterday about when you're a comic, when I was at the Comedy Store, the exposure to the porn industry, all the porn stars, all the people that did porn would always hang out at the Comedy Store. And there's something about when you use your body as a comic, you get a special, then you tour. When you become a porn star and you get lucky enough to get known, and we're going to get into this, then you go and dance, then you get, you turn it into, you're on tour now. And so I don't know if that's our connection, or maybe it was the first time we did a podcast, which was 20 years ago. Who cares when it was? When I was like 15.
Same.
Right? It was such a different world.
So different.
Yeah, but you are, Alana Evans is in that pantheon of porn stars when there were porn stars. Porn stars don't exist anymore. But you are a very small handful of women, like a tiny handful that everybody who watched porn knew. Right? And you still have those fans to the point where you still do Comic-Con things.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny though, you and I were chatting like when we were hanging out that I get guys that will tell me I'm technically their first time. And then I'm like, okay, just don't tell me how old you were because that's creepy. But then sometimes they cry and I'm just like, oh, this is so sweet. Let me give you a hug and smash my boobs into you. Yeah. Make it creepy.
Yeah, well, so you were, what happened was when we first did a podcast, I kept looking for the crazy. I kept looking for something that you see in people who live an extreme lifestyle. Look, it can be comics, it can be whatever, but there was an outlaw quality to being a porn star. When you started, it was not mainstream. When you started, you were a straight up outlaw.
Totally.
And it was like, oh, you want to do this? This is irreversible. Here we go, right? And I just kept looking for something about you that was...
What's wrong with her? It's got to be in there somewhere.
Right, but also I was looking for a mercenary quality, right? Because like, I'll if you fuck for money, you do a lot of things for money, right? It's that idea. But I know for a fact, that you're the kind of person that keeps their mouth shut. I've seen you protect people. And you, even with the Trump stuff, you didn't want to tell anybody about that shit. You didn't want to tell anybody.
I got told on.
You got told on.
I got told on.
Because a lot of people, I don't know if they know this, but you had a phone call with a friend. You thought it was candid. You were just talking to one of your porn friends.
Totally.
She recorded you. She gave it to the Washington Post.
She gave it to the Daily Beast.
And they were like, hey, we have everything you said. And you were like, oh, no.
Absolutely. And listening to reporters read the transcript of our conversation.
With no context.
With no context. And you're seeing these, statuesque men in their suits and their glasses reading, OMG, like, no way. It's Donald Trump. All of a sudden, everybody's Romy and Michelle. We're doing the hair flips.
That's fucking great. Doing their best Alana Evans impersonation.
Absolutely. And I was like, no. No one can do it as well as I can.
Yeah.
All right, let's just... And it was a 3-day process. I hid in my house for the entire weekend while everything was happening and kind of blowing up. And this ball of tumbleweed just getting bigger and bigger. And it just became where, okay, I'm going to come forward and we're going to speak on this. And I'm, really good and I can hold my poise together and things. So I think that did me a good service in that way by taking the narrative back and being able to tell the story from without the Valley Girl, vibe attached.
Yeah. But where'd you learn? Why was that just an instinct for you to just never kiss and tell?
I respect people. I really think that that's what it comes down to. I respect your family. I respect being that dirty little secret because I enjoy it. It's something that we would just share together and other people just don't need to know. And watching so many different people make a spectacle of themselves in that way or get wealthy or get famous because they're talking about some torrid affair that they had.
Yeah.
I don't respect it. You're going to ruin somebody's family, and I don't want to be that person.
Yeah, there's so much of that.
Totally.
There's so much that goes on. Do you think, though, so you got into porn. Can you talk a little bit about how you got into this? What was the year you got into porn?
Back in 1998.
98.
98, I know.
It was such a different time because that's when you got video. You went to a video store and rented the videos.
I've done that many times.
Yeah.
I loved porn before I got into it. I was a connoisseur. So
You were?
Oh, hell yeah.
As a woman?
As a woman. I loved, you know what? I was so naughty. I was a swinger. So I really enjoyed watching lesbian movies. Of course, they didn't have the title of lesbian. It was just girl on girl action because I was curious about being with women. And, we didn't have the freedom that you can have now where it's no big deal that you're bisexual and you want to be with someone of the same sex. Even in the 90s, it was still filled with rejection and scariness.
Again, a very good point because look up when Will and Grace was. That Will and Grace was gay was not mainstream.
No.
Porn was not mainstream. 98.
Ah, there it is.
So just so everybody knows, I auditioned for that show I think 5 times.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It could
I kept
have been
coming back.
Brian and Grace.
Could have been. But, Eric McCormick was better. I auditioned for Jack and Sean Hayes is better. They're both better.
I don't know how you could play a gay man. I was
young and cute. But I remember how radical that show was. That was the first time, just so people have the context. 1998, the year you go into porn, Will and Grace was the first gay character ever on TV. And it was the first time that gay was mentioned. It was the first time gay people were showcased as normal, like heterosexual people, just having to be attracted to the same sex, and with a sense of humor. That show was so groundbreaking and so revolutionary, it's crazy. And I remember reading it. And I went, it was probably 98, 90, it was actually probably 97 when I read it. And I went, this is going to be a hit because it was so well written. It was so funny. And I was like, and this is a gay character. Now, remember, they weren't kissing. There was no contact.
Right.
But they were just gay. They were very safe gay.
Safe.
Yeah. But it was a radical time. It was before gay marriage, I think.
Yes, 100%.
It was all of this stuff. It was
all
when the President of the United States was like, marriage is between a man and a woman. Senators were saying that. So you are curious and you get into the most outlaw... 2015. There you go. How about that?
Wait, that was when we got gay marriage?
How about
got
that?
it. Okay. Because I know California had a whole I remember the No Hate on 8 campaign that we had here to legalize it in the state.
Yeah. So only 9 years ago.
Wow.
So you love, it's one thing to love porn. It's another thing to say, I'm going to do this. You had a swinger boyfriend or husband?
Yeah, I think, husband, we got married pretty young. I was married at 18, had a baby young, straight out of the gate. Totally.
Wow.
I know.
And
we went all in.
Now, was it a money consideration or what was it?
It felt like the right thing to do. I got pregnant at 16, had him at 17, graduated high school, did the whole thing. And, we had been together. There was a 4-year age difference between myself and my first husband. And
so he was super young.
Yeah, we were both young. He had his family was amazing. And so his parents really stepped in. They were the kind of parents where, let's be real, they had 7 kids total. all boys. So I was probably the fifth girlfriend, not for him, but through the men in the family that lived with them. They just had a really big home vibe. My mom passed when I was 16. They took me right in.
Your mom died?
Yeah, my mom died, yeah.
Wow.
But what's funny is
Okay.
I had my own bedroom in their house. So like they were
You were
really,
a
really great to
16-year-old
me.
girl.
Yeah, I was a kid. It's a total kid.
With a baby, a baby with a baby.
My ex had a good job. We had health insurance. I didn't have to do welfare or Medi-Cal or any of that type of stuff. And you know, at that age,
But you were on your own at 16.
I was on my own, 100%.
Dad was not in the picture.
No, Dad tried, but we just kind of butted heads a lot.
Because Dad had other kids and other
Oh
families.
yeah, definitely. My dad's wild. I am so much like my parents. It's ridiculous. And so it all makes total sense. They met in the military. They were both hoes.
Really?
Absolutely. So I'm like this great mix of both of them. My dad's a musician too, so he gets a big kick out of everything. My dad is 75 years old, and I probably should, his girlfriend will never watch this, and they're estranged, but he was like, hook me up with some of your friends. And I'm like, no, I am never going to do that, Dad.
75 years old.
That's never going to happen.
Daughter's in porn.
I'm not even going to hook you up with my old friends that are in their 50s and 60s because I don't want to know about it. I don't want to hear about you. Yeah. That's just weird. Like, I'm not introducing my son, who's now 31, to any of my friends. Although I wouldn't have a problem with it. I think I would just be like, all right, I'm going to leave.
Yeah.
See you guys
later.
later.
Your son struck me. So again, I met your son because you came to my show in San Diego, and he was there, and he's a veteran.
Yes.
Handsome.
Thank you.
Handsome.
He's gonna love this.
Muscular. Kind of a big guy.
He's a big guy. Yeah.
Big, kind of strong. Was he a Marine? What was he?
He was a Marine. That's right. Once
So-
a Marine, always a Marine,
Yeah.
baby.
So you know, this sort of big, handsome Marine. I think
Black man. Let's add that in.
Dad was black. Dad was black.
Yeah.
So he's got that wonderful mixture of German and black.
Totally.
But what I noticed about your son is you'd think, okay, mom's a porn star, and dad is I don't know. Dad was
a cop.
Dad was a cop.
Dad was a cop.
Okay. So
yeah.
So dad's a cop who gets off on his wife being in movies, and that's not a conventional childhood.
No.
But what I got from that kid, that man, because he's not a kid, because he's been to war and he was a Marine, and he was. What I got from him was he is an old soul and very composed. He's composed, man.
Thank you.
He was right there with you. You're his mom. You obviously have a great relationship.
Yes.
And again, none of this is expected.
Well, and they love you, so I was a badass that night.
I know. I got a text from you.
his
You're like, I
friends.
hear you're going to be in San Diego. I'll get you fucking tickets.
It was so much fun. And they had such a good time.
Yeah.
They in a funny way, I learned how cool you are from them. Like, not like I don't know because you're awesome, but when you see your kids talking and you, because of you, something had happened. You did Rogan's show one day and you talked about me. And you were talking about how, you know who's an awesome human being? I can quote it. You know who's an awesome human being? Alana Evans. Him and his friends, they're all blowing up my phone.
Really?
I all of a sudden became this badass mom, right? I mean, I was already Kevin's mom. So they used to sing a song about me in high school. Kevin's mom, Kevin's mom, and I think it's fucking cool. He's mortified, but I'm
Jesus
just
Christ.
like, yep.
That's a way to grow up.
We're Stifler's mom. This is fucking great. So to move forward, then that happens. Everyone's calling, everyone's freaking out, and I'm like, of course, you didn't know.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. It makes me wonder sometimes, like, so you've never shrunk from what you do and who you are. And somehow that's easier to accept for people, even if they're conservative.
Yes.
I think because conservatives, Christians, whoever they are, they also watch. Porn's a huge industry for a reason.
Yeah. We all watch.
And we're all sinners and we're all flawed human beings. And I've always said, I actually don't watch porn. I very rarely watch porn. Maybe it's because
They're all your friends?
Yeah, they're all, I know. I don't know what it is. I've never, maybe because I typically don't quite believe, if I think somebody, they're doing a scene for me, it's not, it's not
authentic.
Yeah. If I think the woman's actually into it, it'd be different. But a lot of times what I'm watching is damage.
I'm always into it.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. I've actually, I haven't seen much of your stuff, but like that I believe. That I believe. But there is damage in the business, right?
You know,
what is that about?
The political statement for me would be there's damage in every business. But of course, you know, you have to be of the right mind frame to be able to go into the industry and not become damaged from it, because it is very much a mirror of Hollywood, where we're putting all of our emotion on our sleeve. It's all about what you look like. I mean, that's actually very different now thanks to OnlyFans. So you really can kind of be any type of package and be able to sell your content. But at that time in the 90s, in the 2000s, that wasn't a thing. So it would be really difficult for models, whether male or female. You had to have a good head on your shoulders. You had to know.
A business head, right?
You did. And you also kind of had to be able to say no to peer pressure. And that's why I say that's the Hollywood vibe, because there's drugs, there's pressures in so many different spaces. And if you're solid in yourself, you're going to do just fine. If you've got mental health issues, which many people have, and that's just life now.
And that might be why they go into it in the first place.
Yeah. And then that's all going to be amplified. And so it's like putting a microscope on your problems, the same way you would, like, I've never done this, but burn ants through the sunlight of the magnifying glass. It does the same thing. It will go straight through if you don't know how to navigate your way.
So what is the juice worth the squeeze? Like, how many people who have gone through it, because you're one of the few, you make money.
I make money.
And you have figured out a way to parlay this shit, because you were able to manage it, and then you parlayed it into a whole different, world for yourself.
That's
right?
the key. Something I always kind of had pride about myself was I could take something I really enjoyed and see it as a different branch. So back in the day, the first real thing that I stepped into was the cannabis industry. That was early 2000s, when maybe it was medically legal, but it was not recreational anywhere. And I had a big relationship with High Times, got to go to Amsterdam for the Cannabis Cup, stuff like that. And that was right after 9/11. I remember, because there was nobody there at the time.
Right.
It was November. I had Thanksgiving at a Hard Rock hotel there in Amsterdam. I was stoked though, because I could still get turkey. Being an American overseas at a time like that, you're like, where can I get
please,
it?
And some weed,
right?
Some
Yes,
hash,
please. Some
hash and
hash.
turkey.
Hook me up. The funniest thing about that trip was, I'm sitting there with a half-smoked J, and you're like, shit, I want to save this, because that's what you would do at home. Weed was hard to come by. My friends goes, don't do that. And I'm like, why? And they looked at me and they said, would you save the bottom of a Coke bottle? And I went, oh, shit. You are not wrong. Okay,
Yeah.
I realize where I am now.
Yeah.
And that was the first way of me stepping out. And then the second way of me stepping out was, I'm a huge gamer. And so before Twitch existed, I was like, webcamming was becoming a popular thing. And I'm going, what can I do on webcam that will bring my fans in, other than being naked and painting walls, which my friend did and made a lot of money. And I'm like,
naked painting walls.
yeah, because they just wanted to have this feeling of being connected to you outside of porn.
Wow.
So I started Pwned by Girls. We blew up the internet because no one had ever seen porn stars playing video games.
I remember
streaming.
this, because you guys were doing it on the Playboy channel, right?
Yes. So that was my Naughty Gamers podcast.
Yeah, because I was asked to do something on that. I think I did some stuff on the Playboy channel.
I'm sure you did. Well, because
so you were one of the first people one of the first porn people to game.
Yeah.
And all those gamers.
And stream. Like, we had to point a webcam at the TV and a webcam at ourselves and broadcast into two different channels, because the programs and the software outright didn't exist. All of the capture cards only made it so that you could record. You couldn't live stream. And then, little knowledge, Twitch was originally a site called Justin TV. So the same year Twitch became a thing was when we launched Pwned by Girls, and it just it exploded in the best way.
Wow. So how many fans do you think? Like a lot.
I mean, if you take all my numbers all over, there's over 1 million, but I'm sure I have millions because not everybody's on social media, and good for them.
So when you go to Comic-Con, you have a lot of those people who are like, hey, I used to watch you a lot.
It's so cool. And I have fans that are just gamers who've never watched any of my porn. I have fans that have seen every movie I've ever made. And then, of course, a ton of people who just love me because of my, Trump involvement. And so it's honestly really neat.
How many movies have you made? And a lot.
I would say well over 1,000.
Well over 1,000.
Because it went from the times of making DVDs. I mean, when I started, we were still doing film. So a couple of the movies I did were actually on, that 12 millimeter film, expensive shit. Yep.
Damn.
First movie I did was called Prey. And Nick Kramer was the director. I'll never forget it. That was my first actual film. And then everything went into VHS after. And then, of course, after that, DVD. I sound ancient talking like this. Some people are like,
this is the Comedy Store. I met all those like famous directors.
Yeah.
I don't remember their names, but they were all, this guy's the famous, and all. Yeah. That's wild. And so you went from that to... when did the business change? Like, when did you know it was going to change?
The internet.
Right?
Because I came from the time where, and that's why my movie numbers are crazy, because you've got 500 movies that you can buy on a VHS or a DVD, but hundreds of scenes that I did for just internet companies like Brazzers and Reality Kings and stuff like that. And so I'll never forget, they used to try to pay us less for scenes that were going straight to the internet. The idea was, it's just a few minutes. It's just going to be a clip. We're going to pay you a few $100. I'm like, no, you're not. It's the same amount of work. We're not doing any of that. But back then, people didn't trust the internet. So keeping a credit card company to do your processing, people were doing chargebacks like crazy, and it created this high-risk industry, honestly, that we still live in today, which is nonsense. And so, man, it's been a crazy path, but the internet changed all of it. And now, if you asked me that, and I was a newer performer, and I went from just what I knew of at the internet time, you could then go and say OnlyFans changed everything. So it's kind of neat to see
OnlyFans
the facet.
has been where some women are making a fortune, and men, right?
So much money.
Because you can curate your audience. So think about when you were doing this. Can you imagine how much you would have made on OnlyFans?
I would be loaded.
Are you serious?
Beyond
it
loaded.
Would have been so crazy. Like you guys, like the small Jenna Hayes, you, Belladonna, all those.
Because we could control it. And back then, you only made what you made based on that scene. There were no royalties. There were no residuals. There's still pretty much
How much
aren't.
would you make typically on a scene?
Oh, easy. I will absolutely dish. So back in the 90s, 98 when I started, the going rate, I remember having to ask. I went to a go-see, that's what we call them, and I didn't know. My agent kind of didn't set me up for that. So they're like, all right, it's $200 to $250 for a BJ scene, and this is 98. $600 to $800 for a boy-girl scene. And then back then, other things like anal wasn't really a thing. You were a really dirty girl if you did that, which of course about 7 months in, I'm like, yeah, sign me up. But as it went on, the rates would increase. Now, I mean, you have girls that have flat rates who are looking at $2,000 to $2,500 per scene. Those are some of your like bigger stars, but I think they're still trying to pay girls about $1,000 a scene.
So what did you work with the same people over and over again?
Usually it was like the same core 20 people because Viagra was brand new back then. So a scene could literally take 8 hours. My second scene ever, it took.
This is what people don't realize.
Yes,
this
all day.
Because when you do a movie, when you do you're sitting on set all day and you're going to shoot a page a day. That shit takes forever. So wait a minute. So you're talking 8 hours?
The second scene took 8 hours.
Why?
I remember everybody was so frustrated because it's not easy to be the guy, you know. And
so you
you've
gotta
got all
wait
the
for him to
people
get it
around.
up?
It's always waiting for the guy. Yeah, totally. And I don't mind being a fluffer, right? But it gets to a point to where you're like, bro, my jaw's sore. I'm good. Like this is your job, buddy. you have to be able to get into that mind frame. And I remember that day somebody gave him a Viagra, and then it all changed, and we were like, okay, we're back in here. But those drugs were new. And like in the porn industry, you'd think that there'd be drug dealers for different things.
Yeah.
You literally had ED drug dealers.
Really?
Totally.
Was there a lot of but there were a lot of other drugs, right?
Not on sets. And
No,
that's not me
that's 'cause-
bullshitting.
No, I've heard that because like any business, you got to be reliable. If you're late, if you show up drugged up, whatever, people aren't going to work.
You're
with
getting sent home.
So it's funny because, in crime, I know a couple people, I've known some criminals.
Just some.
Yeah. But like real organized criminals. And within that ecosystem, this is so crazy, but you might be into drug trafficking, you might be into all the stuff that comes with it. If you are a quote unquote scumbag within that circle, you get left out on the money wheel. Yeah. So if you're not reliable, if you're not on time, if you're not somebody if you're gonna start stealing from the rest of the group, you're out.
Absolutely.
It's not that you're gonna get killed, you're just out. If you go to jail, they keep your place in the money wheel and then you come back in. And these are these unspoken rules. So within any, organization, you still got to be a professional.
Yes.
You still got to show up. It's so interesting.
Yeah. And some people, it's funny because there are people that are infamously known for being late, Mr. Marcus. And so they would lie to Marcus about what time the call time was.
Right. It's going to be 10.
Tell him, because, and I'm not saying Marcus isn't responsible. He's one of my favorite male performers from that time. But yeah, you're sitting on set waiting for your guy to get there. Normal male talent that are on point, they'll get the call. Okay, she's out of hair and makeup. We're shooting her pretty girls now. Come on over to set. And then they just roll in, bada bing, bada boom, do their thing, and off they go, cashing their checks.
So interesting, man. It's a
fun.
job.
It's a fun. We would joke that you're paying me the money for the paperwork because, of course, the paperwork sometimes is like a huge stack.
Why?
2257 documentation to prove that we are all over age.
Really?
Yeah, so when people talk about, we need age verification, we have to verify everyone in porn as an adult. Look, no one's been doing that since Tracy Lords. They learned from that whole thing.
Around.
And there's federal laws that were put in place in the 90s so that we had to, provide 2 forms of ID, the stack of paperwork with your name. And then the crazy thing is with 2257, it would have to be able to be filed 3 different ways. So you had to have multiple filing cabinets. One based on the performer's stage names, one based on the date of the production, and then the other based on the title of the film. So one set of paperwork would have to be able to be filed in 3 different ways for if the feds ever come in to, check to make sure you're on point.
So you show up to set. You have not only your proof of age, you also have a medical clearance.
Yes.
Like all you guys exchange paperwork and go, here's my clean bill of health.
Here's my test.
And so you would get tested if you were shooting
I
every
have scars from all of the HIV
Constantly.
tests I've done. I kind of show it as a badge of honor. I'm like, check that out. Look, you can even see there's like a divot.
That was the big one. But also they would test you for like chlamydia, gonorrhea and all that, or no?
In the 90s, it started as just the HIV test. And then I remember right when I was brand new, they added gonorrhea and chlamydia, which makes total sense. And then over time, more and more tests would be added. So now our panel includes everything.
Hepatitis B.
Hepatitis, syphilis. A lot of people require swabs because people don't understand, and this is great for people at home, that when you're sexually active and you're a man, you don't have to have anal penetration on you to catch an STI within your anus, because you might be sitting in a puddle of her fluid and it can still go inside of you. So swabs are so great because it kind of pinpoints right where the infection is. If you're just peeing in a cup, that's not going to tell you that it's in your throat or it's in your rectum.
Right.
So
That's so
it's
wild.
had to advance. Yeah, we're like the cleanest people on
That's
earth.
what that's what they were talking about. The adult industry has always been way better than any government agency at policing themselves.
Yes.
They didn't need government regulation because people are like, I don't want to get that shit. We're working.
It doesn't feel good,
Yeah.
and no one wants their livelihood to end, really was what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So you
But
kind of
the
have
people
to.
that lasted, like yourself, they were the ones I'm always interested in anybody who can last in a field that is known for chewing you up and spitting you out
Yes.
in the first year.
In the first
whether it's
year.
the NFL, whether it's crime, whether it's porn, whether it's show business, it's like some people figure out how to adapt, how to move, how to shapeshift, how to just kind of stay relevant.
We're all skinwalkers.
All skinwalkers.
Literally.
Yeah. And so you kind of, I guess, had to figure that out at a very early age.
I definitely did, but I really liked what I was doing. And the other thing is I had a great agent. I mean, obviously I had said earlier, he didn't necessarily tell me how much I should be charging things. That was kind of left out of the conversation, but he always looked out for me. And so there were bad actors in the industry that he completely kept me away from.
Really?
Yeah. Max Hardcore was number one because the things that this guy would do to the girls, peeing in their anus, like just things that I don't want to be.
His name is Max Hardcore.
Yeah, 100%.
So let's stay away from that guy.
So let's stay away from that guy, to the point to where my agent even told me his real name because he knew that his name was so branded as having the ick that I got every capacity of this guy so that I would stay away. And I met him. Kind of befriended him, he was the crazy guy who always wore the white cowboy hat, but he was crazy.
Yeah.
Went to prison at some point for, I think we called it obscenity, but I have a feeling that the charges were actually something else. But the stuff that he was filming, you kind of understood. He was, what's funny is, he said something about Stormy one day on one of my tweets. And I remember saying, that's not very nice. I don't like that. And then I shit you not, he died 2 days later. And I'm like,
He died 2 days later?
yeah, he
old
was
was
an
he?
older man. He was much older. Probably definitely late 60s, if not early 70s.
Just a guy from the 70s. Huh?
Yeah, for sure.
And for the longest time, porn was really like, wasn't it sort of like compartmentalized to like Chatsworth?
Absolutely.
Like a tiny part of the valley.
100%. You didn't film anywhere else. Maybe you did some more kind of crazy, obscure stuff in San Francisco, like bondage, because kink.com was always up there.
Really?
So, so you could go up there. I will never forget my tour of this place. I'm going up to film with those fucking machines, those like robotic arms.
Symbian machine or whatever the hell it is.
No, actually, these looked like mechanical arms that had a dildo in the end and had a control, and so it would move back and forth. I literally own my own now. Hell yeah, I do. They're badass.
What's that in the living room?
It's small. It folds up, goes into my closet, but it's in
portable.
a box like this big, right? But so they did all kinds of crazy shit. They had like Fear Factor-esque props and sets. There was a water tank that was about 8 feet tall. And I guess you would get into it and they would fill up the tank while you're inside. I never did any of this, mind you, because I don't want to drown. Yeah. And then I guess the panic and the kink of it was the water would go in, you would stand there, and then it would be a slow drain out. So it wasn't like you were tied to the bottom.
There's some weird shit,
but
man.
Weird. And the strangest looked like a coconut shell, if you will, but it was large. You would lay inside of it, face up, and they would spin it around, and there was one spot that would just drip water. It was this, it looked like the Chinese water torture device.
Some people are into weird shit, huh?
Totally into that.
I heard there was a guy who used to get in, he was wealthy, and he would get into a tube and have girls fart into it.
I missed that guy, darn it.
Fucking weird shit.
Bet it paid a lot of money, too.
People are fucking nuts, man.
Well, there was the girl selling her farts in the jars off of OnlyFans, but she ended up in the hospital.
I know.
That poor thing.
Because she ate too many fucking cruciferous vegetables.
Right? It's just ridiculous.
Do you think, like, when you think about sexuality, it must make you very non-judgmental because you see the undertapestry.
I'm so judgy. I mean, I think we all have our
the better question is this.
Yeah.
When you see somebody that's really puritanical and very sort of frigid and very judgmental.
I think they do the kinkiest shit at home.
That's what I want to know because you would know.
Because so someone like me, because it's all out there. Yeah. I get it out of my system. I am as normal as can be.
This is what Jesus said.
This is
so
totally.
Jesus Christ, when he's talking to the Sadducees, he's like, I hang out with hookers and gamblers and thieves because at least I know who the fuck they are. Yes. I don't think he used the word the fuck, but he said, you guys are moralists. You walk around holier than thou, and you're doing it because you want a reward at the end of your life. That's not that's not the way to worship. Like, get honest and get real and realize that you also are a hooker, a gambler, a thief. You have that in you as well. I always look at that, to me, and I want to get to this because for me, I guess I've always been really comfortable around people that are soldiers, criminals, porn stars, comics.
There's a strange correlation there between soldiers and criminals.
Maybe just people who are.
You killed someone.
People I know what they do. Like people that maybe this is a better way. People that get their hands dirty, that have had to work with their hands in one way or another, man.
Yeah.
In one way or another, they had to come into contact with objective reality. A girl who was basically on her own at 16 years old with a kid. She gets into porn because there's probably not a lot of other options. I guess you could do something else and make $6 an hour, or you could go and do this thing, and then it becomes a sort of a snowball.
I like
and then
snowballs.
You come out of it. Yeah. Well, you stayed away from all that blow, but you come out of it. And do you think that sometimes do you think that you were like drawn to the industry because of the people, and did you feel more comfortable? And if you did, how do you see yourself now? What do you think? Have you grown more conservative?
Well, I think as we all age, we grow a little bit more conservative. Yeah. I think that's kind of normal, but it's also because of the experiences that you've had, the things that you've seen just in life in general. And I believe in living in our truths. So I'm comfortable with who I am and can live in my own skin without having those kinds of regrets. Sex has always been something that is fun. I've been open to. I've been going to swingers clubs since technically I was allowed to. There may have been some times where we weren't exactly 18 going in there.
You don't have any hang-ups.
No, and it's funny because I think now I don't judge people because all I have to do is watch a video of myself and see how obnoxious I was. And sometimes people love to show me those videos. The best video I've ever seen of myself in just a total, BTS style way. We're in Florida for this show. And there was a ton of porn stars there. We're in the back of the van, it's going to take us back to the hotel. And I am so young and so naive. I'd never really done anything. I hadn't even really smoked weed, right? And so I didn't have experience with drugs or any of that. Oh, man. And here I am squealing in the back of the van at the top of my lungs with this obnoxiously high-pitched voice talking about how some guy offered me money to be an escort, and I thought it was the grossest thing ever, to somebody else offering me blow and me just being like, ew, again, OMG, no way. And I watch that and I go, I have no right to judge anyone.
Well, but you were young and you had power.
I was young.
But what people are
I didn't understand the power.
Yeah, when you're young and beautiful and you got all this attention, it's very seductive, isn't it?
Give me all the dicks.
Yeah. Well, you've got access to all of it. Yeah.
Totally.
Everybody.
But you kind of lose that person sometimes when you become now I'm this huge advocate for the industry, right? As the president of the Adult Performance Artists Guild.
What are you advocating for?
Advocating really for the financial health and safety benefits for the workers in our community, because that didn't exist for my people at that time. You didn't have people kind of trying to show you what was right from wrong, or, hey, this is how you spend your money, or, hey, get health insurance, stuff like that. So I do a lot of that. And then, you get to the, right when I like physically retired from mainstream sets, I call it, in 2016, I was a little tired, right? You come from doing all these crazy things and multiple men and multiple women and loving it all, and my body is like, oh, I'm sore. I took the time off. Now I find myself in between two men, and I'm like, yeah, I could take you both.
Because the adventurous spirit has not left your brain.
I just needed a little recharge. Now,
but wait, talk about like how banking, how some banks will not allow you to bank with them because you're in porn.
Yes.
And how you met with JD Vance's office, and they were very sympathetic because banking also has kept people who are in the gun industry out.
Yes.
What else?
We found a connection between the cannabis industry, gun industry, even oil.
And oil.
Yeah. So what happened to me?
Porn.
And then porn.
So the conservatives were way more sympathetic to your plight, being that you can't bank with certain banks.
Because, and not that it's wrong, but the Democratic side, and I am a Democrat, so it's funny, but I see it for what it is. They're all afraid of trafficking. And we as adult performers, OnlyFans workers, cam models, we all get pushed under this bubble of we're being trafficked, and oh no, save them. I'm here by choice. And so we would get labeled as high risk banking. Like Elizabeth Warren ended up trying to put this banking bill forward under the name of stopping the traffickers that really fucked with a lot of us.
That's so interesting.
But the Republican side, it's all about money. And so we found a lot of connections in that way. Unless there was a Democratic senator or a congressperson that had an interest for cannabis, which you see a lot of that, we were just being sheltered. And so I lost my bank account with Wells Fargo after 30 years of being a great customer.
Because so it wasn't a judgmental thing. They're trying to protect the world from sex trafficking.
Sure. Yet meanwhile, funneling all this money that they were dealing with the cartel, because they're awesome.
Yeah.
What? We were a scapegoat. We were straight up scapegoat.
How do they define sex trafficking? Like, because that's what P. Diddy is in trouble for. He's in trouble for a lot of other shit.
Right.
But so sex trafficking would be what? Coercing somebody against their will across state lines or something?
It can involve state lines, and then at that place you bring in something called the Mann Act, which was created actually with racial connotations so that women wouldn't travel across state lines. And I say racial because from my understanding where that came from was really keeping white women away from beautiful black men. And so he's shaking his head. Yep. It's nuts. And so you don't really see that used a lot, but in a circumstance like his, it's all about coercion. But what gets labeled all the time is save the children. And I don't mean to use quotes, but save the children. But that's this goat that they hide behind, because sex trafficking is now the new word for prostitution. It involves so many different things other than what we think of children being sold into sex slavery. That is a legitimate problem, but completely separate from women that want to go make their money as a full service escort. You know what I'm saying? There are women and men who are labeled as being trafficked simply because that's just
and not
their way
only
of
that,
life.
but you can also sue somebody with money for saying you were trafficked when you probably weren't, even though you were paid for it, right? Is that the other thing that goes on?
I would imagine. I don't know too much about that side.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is that if you have this loosey-goosey definition of sex trafficking, and you've paid somebody to come, I don't know, from Vegas to come, or whatever it might be, technically they can say I was coerced.
I was coerced. I was trafficked. And then what's crazy is
That kills the industry.
It does. And they tried to put language in that made it illegal if you were in dire financial need. That all of a sudden the content you were shooting, if you needed money, is now criminal.
Who doesn't need money?
Thank you. We all need
The reason
money.
you're doing it is because you need money.
Totally.
You're not banging an old rich guy because you want to with a belly because you're, like, what are you talking about? This is where politicians don't live in objective reality.
Yes. And language is everything when it comes to these paperworks. Any legal document is very different based on the little bit of words of like shall or will and stuff like that. So, I mean, and I'll be honest with you, we're the kind of people that we're looking through all of these bills, looking for those types of words that will change the meaning of what people perceive it to be. Like there was one bill, this was the best thing, and they were so stupid. They tried to create a bill here in California, and the language within the bill, it would have forced us all to do consent lists and things, and it would take content that was already created and would make it unsellable because there was no consent list from that time.
Jesus Christ.
But in the language, this is where we got them, and my VP Ruby killed it. It took the laws of consent, and it straight up said, the laws for this shall refer back to state laws. Hi, not every state in this country has 18 for the consent. Sometimes you can be like 12 years old and consent to sex.
No, you can be 16, I think, and
well,
17.
but if you're married, you're now considered that. So in some of these states where they do child marriage, this bill would have actually made that type of porn legal. And
Jesus
so
Christ.
we caught that and said, hey, this is bad language. Of course, some intern writes it. The whole thing got thrown out.
Well, it should get thrown out.
Absolutely.
This is where government gets in the way of things, and it's very relevant. And you see it exposed in the extreme industries at first.
Totally.
They start with that, right? I have to protect you. So Elizabeth Warren has decided she's got to protect you and other people. And it's like, hey, listen, you're not in your lane here. You don't even know how the industry works, but you're here meddling around and you're not doing any good. What you're doing is like you're if you want to make it all illegal, that's how you do it.
Right. And you're taking away legitimate rights from people who are consensually doing this as their day-to-day
I mean, they
job.
wanted to outlaw all old porn because there was no consent to it, so you didn't know.
Yeah.
These people are so out of their fucking minds. It drives me nuts. This is how crazy government will get.
I've had to have meetings with the heads of MasterCard because, again, based on trafficking, they wanted to go with these consent lists and that every time someone's ID would expire, in order to maintain, credit card processing, you had to put up a new ID. Well, that means that everyone that has passed on, all their porn would get wiped out because you can't update an ID for somebody that's died. It's supposed to be the ID based on the day that you filmed. And so we met with them. I'm meeting with, the senior VP of MasterCard and these spaces, which was awesome. You have like 9 men show up to a Zoom meeting because they're meeting with 3 porn stars, right?
Yeah.
But getting them to see from...
let me make sure I third eye this.
Exactly. You get to have these conversations with them and explain to them what it is that these rules are really doing. We got them to change the policy.
Wow.
It was fantastic. So they were like, okay, we understand now. That's the thing. Because I'll tell you what, when I die, I don't want all my porn to be wiped away. That's my legacy. I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
Keep it coming.
It's the library. It's the Alana Evans library. Don't put it under lock and key.
That's right, damn it.
But that's very interesting to me. And so now when people shoot porn, there aren't consent
There are
forms.
now.
There are.
And what's funny is the union.
So it's a legal thing. It's like I'm doing this of my own free will.
Right. And then we went really in depth with the union's consent list that we put on the website that everybody could use to get people just kind of comfortable with it because we felt like it was a good idea. It came from this horrific scene that we had watched with a very famous actress named Nikki Benz. And Nikki is a glamour girl. She does not do these, gutter type, really gnarly, aggressive scenes. And when Nikki did that scene, she walked away saying that, she had been raped. And
She'd been raped.
yeah, well, we use other words
Raped.
because algorithms and all that fun stuff, but that's what she had said. And I'll never forget it. We were at a convention for XBiz, which was amazing. And the lawyers for, I think it was a Reality Kings scene, decided it would be a good idea to show the content, all of it, start to finish, in a very small, closed door room with like the top advocates, lawyers, so that people could see what had actually happened to her. Some of the men in the room were like, what's the big deal? Me, I'm watching this from the eyes of a performer. I know exactly what I'm looking at. And 100%, she was absolutely abused in that scene.
What happened? What did they?
So
what was the demarcation line?
it was very aggressive. The scene was booked to be between her and this beautiful male performer named Ramon Nomar. Ramon's hot, like looks like a baseball player, really sweet. I think he's Spanish. Very, very nice guy. But I pay attention to details. So Ramon is naked. There's no sleeves, right? And so he's doing things to her, and that's what she had consented to. That's what she had agreed to before. But as things carried on, it became so aggressive. They're hitting her breasts. They're turning purple. She's getting slapped across the face.
By who?
The director. And you knew it was the director because he was wearing a gray sweater. So all of a sudden, from my eyes, it's not Ramon just doing these things to her. It's Tony T putting his hands in, and I can see his gray sleeves. Well, she didn't consent to having the director do that.
The shit beat out of her.
Exactly. And so there's a moment in this scene where you can tell, and for women like this, sometimes you just go through it.
You roll with the punches.
You roll with it. You don't want to stop the scene. There were times she 100% cut that scene, and we could tell because all of a sudden the footage ends. So we knew they weren't necessarily showing us everything. And there's a moment where the director's fully involved, and he's got some beef against her. That was very clear. And he's not really a nice guy. He's very aggressive. In fact, he's someone my ex-husband wouldn't allow me to work with because he knew how this guy was.
Piece of shit.
Yeah, pretty much. And he's yelling at her. She had said something like maybe, oh, baby, or whatever it was. And he goes, say it one more time. And he's screaming at her. You know what she does? She says, one more time. She was traumatized. She was traumatized. She was just trying to do whatever it was that they had told her. And she didn't even realize what she was saying. She just repeated him verbatim. Did
they get punished for this?
She sued them. It was very, very public. I think she tried to go to the police. I'm pretty sure that she did, but no one understands what's happening. They don't know what they're looking at. They don't know what they're looking at. I absolutely do. Myself and my VP, we left crying.
I'm so uncomfortable.
It was awful. It was absolutely awful. So we created the consent list. At one point, he had his foot on her head. And so our consent list is crazy.
think part of the reason I stopped watching porn, I watched a guy kick a girl in the ass.
Yeah.
And he's a famous guy, director. And I went, and I was like, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out.
I don't like that shit.
I don't like that.
I could see damage. She's got the lowest self-esteem on the planet, and you're some pig who's doing this. And I was like, this is, first of all, that's not sexy.
No.
Also, it's fucking watching the abuse of somebody. It's also you're being a bully. I'll cut your throat.
Yeah.
I can come in and cut your throat. I'm not talking about the girl. I'll kill him.
Right.
Like that makes me want to come in and go, hey, here's the new snuff film. I'm going to fucking kill you. That's how crazy I get about that stuff.
And
like, it makes me murderous. I'm like, how about you feel what it's like to have somebody come in and kill you? That's like the way I look at it. But maybe
so think about, this is part of the reason why OnlyFans is blown up, because models don't have to go to set anymore. They don't have to go and put themselves in a situation.
Now you're in charge of your own content.
You are completely in charge of your own content, provided you don't got some guy behind you. And there are some of those circumstances.
Yeah, but this is like stand-up. So now you can just put it on YouTube, and it's up to you.
Yeah, totally. And obviously.
55.
All right, hold on. Let me just make sure we're good.
Is that coffee gross?
No, it's totally good. I've had some strange things in my mouth. The coffee's just fine. had a cup of tea once with a massive load in it. That couldn't taste it though. That was pretty good. Yeah.
What tea was it?
I think it was like an Earl Grey with the cum of a hot black guy.
Yes. All right. Well, this is fucking great. This is really interesting. This part is really interesting, man.
Because we get to the dirty side.
Yeah.
And not all porn is like that. There are companies that have come across that are amazing and still give you some of that really sexy, romantic type stories that I, as women, like to watch. But let's be real. My porn is either Spartacus, because I'm obsessed with Manu Bennett, so I will watch that shit over and over again. Crixus is so fucking hot.
Who? Spartacus?
That old show that used to be on
Yeah.
like Max or Stars.
Yeah.
Oh,
You like that guy?
Oh,
Who are you?
most-
Yeah, tell me who you think the hottest guys are in Hollywood for all time.
Okay, cool. So Manu Bennett's totally number one.
Who's Manu Bennett? Bring that fucking guy up.
Yes.
He's a
I have my most
Who is this dude? He's
embarrassing story
What
ever.
is this? He's a stud, huh?
He's so beautiful.
Is he still doing acting or is this an
Yeah,
old
he
show?
did Arrow afterwards.
Okay.
He's still acting. He's so hot. Oh my
Yeah.
God. But you know what's funny is I get guys that'll meet me and they're sweaty and gross and it's okay. I'll still hug them. I got told by a friend of mine, we're at Comic-Con San Diego, my friend's saying, oh, I saw so-and-so, but they named him his character name that I didn't recognize. And I'm like, yeah, cool. My buddy goes, you don't know who they're talking about? And I go, nope. And he looks at me and he goes, Manu. And I'm going, oh, where? And so I just run. I don't do anything. I just run to where he's at. And then I get there and I'm like, shit, I got to buy a picture. I don't have my stuff. I run back to the booth. I grab my purse. I go running back. My wallet's in my camera bag. It's not in my purse. I'm like, God fucking damn it. But each time I go to say hi and I look like an idiot, right? And so then I finally have all my things. I'm now prepared, money in hand. Here's the man of my fucking dreams. And I'm trying to be chill.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Trying to be
keep it
cool.
together. I'm
Trying
trying.
to be cool.
It's not working. I'm soaked in sweat at this point. I'm wearing a T-shirt that says Zelda is the girl, right? Not realizing I'd put tanner on. I have streaks of tanner.
He didn't notice.
Apparently.
He didn't.
So he's taking
guys are
all
like,
these.
whatever.
He's doing all these selfies, and I'm just like, don't swipe the other way. You might see my boobs. I'm flirting. That is if a porn star says that to you,
Swipe the other way.
I'm flirting
Swipe the other way, yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, you're so beautiful. And then I'm like, okay, bye. And I run away
ran
because
away.
I'm not good in these moments. We go to dinner that night. I'm volunteering for the Hollywood Sci-Fi Museum. They got people all day long. So one of the big voice actors, a guy named Vic Mignogna, who I'm still friends with to this day, we're all at dinner, like Buca de Beppo or something, right? And there's like 10 of us. And I'm telling everyone my embarrassing story from the day because, of course, I'm proud of it. I also didn't wash that shirt for like 2 years because he touched it.
Damn right. Got to keep a scent on it.
Oh my God. But then at one point, I'm like, I really want to wear this shirt. But I'm telling Vic the story. He calls him at the table and he's telling him my version. I'm mortified. I am
Did you
embarrassed.
talk to him or no?
No, not at that moment. He was there with his wife and all his children. Now
okay.
he has since divorced that lady, married a hot blonde. I'm like, shit, I could have had a chance.
was a window.
It was a window.
Who's the? Give me one more. Who?
Do you know what this is?
No.
You can't see me. I'm the biggest John Cena fan like ever.
You like him big.
Ever,
You like him
ever.
big and strong.
You know what's funny is that's not the kind of guy I would date. I just want to fuck them. Yeah, because they're usually too much like narcissist vibes for me, and that's okay. It just means you have your purpose.
Yeah.
So they can call
John
me.
Cena. He's John Cena. I met before he was John Cena.
Oh.
He was in Gold's Gym. Such a good guy, and I've never seen wrists and hands that big. I've never seen.
No, I'm just kidding.
His wrists are that big.
It's
his
the
hands.
rope tug.
I mean, he's just a giant man. He's a giant Viking. Some people are just outliers. Just
There's going to be a puddle in this chair when we leave. I'm sorry. So he had a porn star scandal, right?
He did?
With Kendra Lust.
Oh, yeah.
And
I know Kendra.
she's a
just
sweetheart.
just on Instagram.
Yeah, she is
Yeah.
wonderful. She is the sweetest girl.
She seems
Again,
cool.
total porn fan before she blew up. And she did it the right way, talking to everybody on social media, really just kind of building this rapport. And so when that happened, I shit you not, I fucking texted her and I'm like, if you need a third wheel, I don't talk. I'm right here.
I keep my mouth shut.
I keep my mouth
Let me help
shut.
you. Let me help you with this giant man.
Yes, please.
God
And I know
bless
here and there he like works out in San Diego. So I'm like, which gym do I need to stalk?
Yeah.
And I don't care how old he is. The guy's still hot. And this is how bad it is. I have a John Cena doll that's like 12 inches. I still have it in the box.
How old is Cena?
Doesn't even matter.
45.
I'm still
No, he
older
might be
than
50
he is.
now. I don't know.
Let's.
47.
Oh, see, we're right in that same. So he's a guy I would date. That's my age. Other than that, we're
He's a
we're
huge
way
fan
younger.
of this podcast. So
Oh, really?
No.
He
But we'll
follows
see.
me. And the
does?
day that he followed me on Twitter, I died. I went to fangirl heaven. So, if you could line those two guys up, we're good.
let me see what I can do. Let me see what the fuck I can do.
I'm in love with them.
All right.
They're so amazing.
Alana Evans, what? What are you looking at?
His body is just disgusting.
Let me see.
It looks like he has.
Yeah, that's a big boy. That's a big boy. He's a giant man.
But he's wearing his shorts.
I gotta get on some sauce.
No, you don't.
Marie Dangard / Alana Evans. Thank you for doing the podcast.
I love that you're doxing me. It's so great.
I kept calling you Alana. I'm like, but then I realized what your real name is.
I know your wife kept correcting you.
Are
It
you
was
allowed to? I
great.
can bleep out your real name.
No, it's okay. It's pretty much out there. After I sued Instagram, everyone knows my real name is.
I don't know. You're still active. You're still doing your thing. Thank you for doing this, man.
I'm so glad I did.
Glad we
best.
finally. Yeah, this is our second podcast. All right, kids. That's it. God bless. I'll see you. BrianCallen.com for tickets.
The following information may challenge your ideas and could be considered off limits.